Living alone in old age, I'm talking about the 60s, 70s, 80s and above, has become much more common. But have you ever wondered who copes better between men and women? In this video, I'm not going to go or dig into actual statistics because I thought that would be way too much for this short video, and I'm not claiming to be an expert in statistics and demographic studies, guys. This is just a general consensus from the variety of sources, some of them even unofficial, that I've been reading. If anybody disagrees or thinks I've gone the wrong way in this video, the comment section is available for you to come and share your views or your opinions. Now, generally, women are twice as likely to live alone in old age as compared to their male counterparts. And why? Because women tend to live longer. And when I say longer, it's on average. I'm not saying every woman will outlive men. These are average numbers, roughly maybe 5 to 7 years, according to the numbers I've been finding on different sources. I'm just putting everything together without really wanting to quote, give citations and stuff like that. But this is generally a known fact, right? So let's go deeper with the topic. It's also important to note that women have a greater life expectancy, and also the percentage of women living alone in old age is higher than that of men. My name is Cecilia Zawi TV. If you're coming to the channel for the first time, you are welcome. Today we're going to compare how people living in old age cope with a solo life. Do women cope better than men? If so, why? And what can be done to help with the situation? Now, this is what's most interesting about this topic. Even as more women are reported to be living alone in older age, generally, studies show that men are less likely to cope with solo living as compared to women. Men generally struggle more with the emotional and the psychological aspects of solo living. So let's break down the emotional and mental coping of people in old age as we compare men and women. Women are believed to be able to build some emotional resilience over time. They are generally known to be able to express feelings, or maybe I should say more comfortable expressing how they feel, asking for help, and obviously connecting with others, even communities, or becoming members in communal groups, which most men will probably not be good at. Let me say this. If I was looking at the people who are like immigrants in the adopted countries, you find that when there's a social gathering, or maybe there's like religious groups and gatherings, you generally the women who attend these functions kind of outnumber the men. I'm not sure if it's because the men don't feel like they don't attend, or because they are breadwinners culturally where they come from, and they feel like they don't have enough time to be away from work just to go and socialize and be with community, members or people that they know. And maybe if that's what limits their engagement in such activities in religious groups, I can't say that. But generally speaking, my observations have been that women outnumber men when it comes to attending such activities. Like you can find on Zoom sessions, even on funerals, usually it's more women than men. Am I right, guys, to think or believe, this is my own opinion, that as we get older, women generally seem to have wider social networks as compared to their male counterparts, and maybe that's why women may generally be more exposed to communities or communal activities than men? Or am I wrong? Can you put that in the comment section? So whilst a lot of women are more comfortable talking about whatever is bothering them or their challenges, men are generally known to keep emotions to themselves. I'm not sure if this is cultural or not, but generally men seem to have been raised with this tough it up, belief and mindset, if I may say. That might be one reason why they kind of bottle up their emotions and would rather not even share with whoever they're supposed to share with. Now, the tough it out mindset can lead to suppressed grief, depression, purposelessness after retirement, or the loss of a partner. In fact, from what I have generally gathered, research from mental health foundations have shown that older men have a higher suicidal rate as compared to women, and obviously linked to loneliness and social isolation. I briefly mentioned earlier on how, generally speaking, older women are likely to maintain friendships, join clubs, attend religious services, or even volunteer, all of which will help boost their mental well-being. Now, in addition to the churches and communal groups I've mentioned before, I want to add things like yoga and becoming members of book clubs. Even when people go to communal swimming, you find there's more women than men in this old age. But we still have the fact that there's more women who live alone in old age than men. I want to say there's a lot of other factors that come into play here in as far as communal and social engagement is concerned, because some of it may actually be cultural. I find, if I refer to some older videos that I've talked about, like why one would choose to retire in the city versus retiring in the country, like in African culture, you find there's more communal engagement, people are more social and look out after one another versus to city life. So those are some of the things even people will consider if they were retiring and wanted to decide between an urban or city location as compared to a country location, because of the social network. So give an example, in African communities, they are very social, they look out for one another. And I've posted a video that I have talked about, do you retire in the city or in the country? That will also help highlight this part of the video. So for those, just going back, digressing, guys, considering retiring in the city, or these are some of the factors to consider. And it will be very good for you if you could watch that video, because it's gonna shed some light into some of these things people generally overlook, but they can impact on our health and social welfare. I'm not sure I'm right to say after retirement, men are generally not so much into activities. Men generally lose contact with co-workers and friends that they have known for a long time, and they may end up not having the same circle of friends that they've been used to in a long time. And that does make a difference, because as new friends come into your life, they come with all different, they're all different characters. Sometimes you get along with them, you don't, and then they fall out, and then you are alone. So once a spouse passes or divorce, isolation can hit hard. I also want to make reference to families who have a spouse working in the diaspora and the family is back home in the birth country. As the spouses in the diaspora continues to have to work in order to support the family back home, and they are getting older, this could also add to this isolation which we are talking about in this topic. So at some point, it's good for families to have moved together. At some point, it's very good for people to work out their marriages and not just rush or jump into divorce because they can. The people do all these things because they have the privilege to make choices without considering consequences ahead in their lives. So it's good when people encourage married couples to work out their problems, to try and stay, to get their families to stay together, bonded, in love, and work out any problems that may lead to divorce, because in the future, these will be consequences. People or elderly people will suffer in old age because now they are alone, or maybe they were alone and they thought they could get a better partner, or they find something even better, only to realize the grass is not greener on the other side. Men generally rely on their spouses for emotional support. So when the spouse, like the wife, is gone, the man's social world shrinks dramatically. Let's talk about daily living, like the cooking, cleaning, just taking medication and being compliant to it. Women are known to do better in this area, and men generally depend on their spouses for all these activities of daily living. And this is also cultural. I find men in the first world are more engaged in this better than our guys. I'm not saying every African man, but I find a lot of our African men, and it's not really part of our culture to get men to be involved or to get them engaged in the cooking, in the cleaning of the house. Not because they don't want to, and not because, I'm not saying they are lazy. There's also men that are known to do this very well, right? But generally speaking, the African culture, let me be specific, the Zimbabwean culture, the man is raised to marry a woman so she can provide for these activities, right? Or services, let me say. So you find men have this laid-back approach when it comes to household chores. So when they lose the partner, the ball game changes. When a man visits Africa, a good example, our African men in the diaspora, when they visit Africa, and maybe the wife stayed back because you can't, sometimes it's not easy to afford tickets for the entire family. The man visits Africa, they go home, in their mother's house, the mother has to cook, the man is sitting, the mother is cooking, is cleaning, and they'll just hand a plate of food to the man. This is a grown-up man in their 60s, and the mother is cooking. Or they go to a sister, the sister is cooking. When the sister is normal, when the mother is normal, they kind of struggle. Sometimes they hop from cousin to niece houses just so they can have a meal. And those cousins and nieces, they have no problems with it, because after all, according to them, who's gonna cook for them? The wife didn't come with him. They are more than willing to do this and clean the house, wash their clothes before they go back if they had come for a visit. That's the mindset I'm talking about. That's the culture I'm talking about. That raises men to believe that all these things should be done for them by women. It would seem like women are generally more prepared to live more independently because many of these women have handled these tasks throughout their adulthood. Some men from the older generation and cultures may have never learned or encouraged to manage the home. So God forbid, when they suddenly find themselves alone, they find themselves in an overwhelming situation. Let me say this. In my country, when the mother-in-law visits and they find their son who is married helping the wife in the kitchen, cooking, helping the wife cleaning the house, oh my goodness, you'll be in serious trouble. Your mother will give you a big lecture. Your mother will tell your paternal aunties to come in. How can you do this to my son? Probably even leading to hatred. And the men, because they're raised that way, they'll end up believing their mother. With modern times and people becoming generally more exposed, people are beginning now to understand, no, that this is common and this is normal and this is what it should be like. But generally speaking, even your own mother is the wife. She visits and your husband is in the kitchen. She'll wait for the opportunity to get the husband step aside and ask what is going on. And that could even lead them to leave that house and go back to the house sooner than they had planned, because they didn't like what they saw. So here's the good news. Everyone can thrive alone, no matter the gender. We should raise children the same, no matter the gender, so that when time comes to be alone and there's need to thrive, they don't face challenges. So if you are living alone in old age and you feel overwhelmed, especially I'm saying as a man, I know there may also be women who are challenged by these ideas that I've brought up. Here are some tips to help you cope. 1, build or rebuild some social connections, reach out, join groups, and attending social events. Secondly, create daily routine. Structure brings stability. 3, try to stay physically active. Even the short walks, guys, will help improve the mood. You know, when this breeze, just don't stay indoors. Try to make an effort to go for long walks if you can. If you got busy or too tired, just try to go for that brief 10-15 minute walk at least every day. That is going to help improve your mood. It's good also, on the 4th point, to be trying to learn some new skills, cooking, tech skills, even hobbies. You know, this YouTube thing, you know, I never thought I'd do YouTube because I'm very bad with computers, with technology, but I work hard, I push myself, I learn, I ask, I watch other people do stuff, I put questions, how do I do this? I ask children, I ask neighbors, sometimes I even go to the library, I see the young ones, you know, in the library studying, I say, excuse me, can I disturb you? I ask, how do I do this? They teach me, and that is it. There's so much to learn. YouTube, organizational skills, time management, it keeps you engaged, busy, motivated to. Don't be discouraged by the low numbers. Sometimes you're not just looking at the numbers, you're just looking at how it keeps you busy, engaged. You have to read, you have to know what you're doing, and you have to know how to use your camera, how to upload videos. All that could take away from time that you could have just been sitting down, worried, wondering what's going to happen. I'll say social media gives you the opportunity or motivates you to leave the house, go outside, explore, get your videos for upload. Lastly, I want to encourage people to not ever be scared or hesitant to seek help from therapists, from friends, and community resources. There's nothing wrong about going to seek for help. You know, back in the days, I'll say a lot of people, there was a lot of stigma about people going to seek help for mental, you know, issues. But now people have become more knowledgeable and understand. You know, the worst thing is to never seek help. Seeking help is not a problem. It's like any other medical condition. You go, you seek help, you get helped, and you're back on track. And I'll go back to the question, who copes better with solo living in old age? I would say according to my opinion. You may think otherwise. My take on it is women generally adapt more smoothly than men. But this doesn't mean that men cannot or are unable to. It just takes awareness, support, and effort. Living alone doesn't have to mean living lonely, whether you're a man or a woman. And solo living can be a time of growth, peace, and purpose. If you find the video helpful, please give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and tell us in the comment section who you think handles aging alone better, men or women. We all would like to hear your thoughts and experiences here on Zawi TV. Until next time, guys, Cecilia, bye-bye, and take care.